You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And, well, I'll tell you this. Last weekend was why I watched football. Compelling drama. It was poetry, really.
Oh, yeah, I love watching Connor Cook versus Brock Osweiler.
That
has Marcus
kicked
Mariota's
off the
legs.
weekend on a fine note.
Oh, was that horrible. Horrible football. And then
the only thing I saw that I enjoyed watching was Clowney.
Yeah, he looked like J.J. Watt when he had that one playoff game for Houston.
Yeah, like Penn was out. I
Savage.
recognize that. But, yeah, it took him a while to recover and get into game shape. But that was against a good O-line. I enjoyed watching him. That was the only pleasure I took from that game.
Yeah, but you knew from the first quarter that the Raiders didn't have a hope. Just from the fact that they were going to make Connor Cook beat him, and he was throwing it all over the yard. Like, it was bad. Which you would expect from a rookie in his first start in the playoffs against the number one defense, but the only time they did anything was when they got decent field position with a kick return of some kind. They didn't march the ball or sustain a drive at all. Which you'll normally see out of a rookie. We'll get one fucking somewhat sensible drive. They'll put it together for a drive. But
yeah, number one defense is a bit overrated, you know, is which stats come up with it. But it's a very good defense.
Well, it's top five, I would argue against with any metric, so yeah.
Yeah, top 5, top 8, somewhere in there.
Well, they're top 5. They just didn't score anything. If Tom Brady had a defense like that, fuck, they'd win 10 Super Bowls. He'd play till he was 50. Like, he's never had a defense like that. He's had some good defenses, but never ones like that. They could pressure the quarterback like that and had good corners.
But I think their corners are suspect, but again, every corner looks better when you can pressure the quarterback.
Well, if you had
if you only have to hold your coverage for a little over 2 seconds, life is a lot easier out there.
Well, and we'll get to that kind of shit later on in our recap.
Yeah. But we didn't have any piece of this game. I had a teased under on a silly dollar ticket I bought. So I got the under.
What? What was
teased
the under?
It to 42 and a half.
Oh, and it was 41.
Yeah. But what I couldn't believe, just from the perspective of the under, is it's Brock Osweiler. You've got an insurmountable lead against this guy. And they're still letting him chuck the ball late. Are they trying to build his confidence? Is that the only reason for that?
I don't know. Well, they were calling them conservative in the second half. And I'm like, well, what else would you be?
It wasn't even that conservative. They were throwing the ball.
In the second half, the start of the second half, they had like 2 or 3 3-and-outs in a row. And we're running it on 3rd and 4 with the fullback, and they're like, oh, the crowd was booing, and it's like, do you guys understand what team you have?
Yeah.
And who you're playing against? Your strength in that game is your defense. The strength in the game this weekend is your defense. You're going to play it close to the vest with this team.
Yeah,
They'll
want to
take some
shorten the
shots
clock.
With Hopkins. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't even understand why they were throwing it as much as they were. It was driving me nuts because even though the ticket was a long shot, I didn't want it gone on the first game. And every time he threw, I'm just going, run the fucking ball. Like, It blew my mind. But, Osweiler will return to earth after his, what did he have, about 178 yards or something?
Yeah, not against the toughest pass defense in the league either. Man, fuck. See, the playoffs got fucked with Carr's leg injury.
Yeah.
That fucked the whole playoffs. Didn't just fuck the Raiders, it fucked the whole playoff watching scenario. Because we would have had Kansas City playing Houston. They would have fucking mopped the floor with fucking Houston. Or would have beat them anyway. Osweiler's not putting up 27 points against Kansas City's defense.
Yeah, I think it would be a single-digit victory, but I think it would have been a comfortable one.
Yeah, so you would have had Kansas City playing New England this weekend and Pittsburgh, Oakland. Little better scenario?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the other thing, I don't want to spend much more time on this travesty, but late in the first half, he threw that ball to DeAndre Hopkins, perfect right in the corner in front of the end zone. If you watched him, they tried that play or variations on it about 5 more times, and he once again sailed the ball 4 or 5 yards out of the field of play every time. He's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad they're stuck with him. Should help us next year.
For one more year.
And then Clowney's knee won't hold up, and Watt's back's fucked.
We'll see if Watt. I'm wondering long term. I mean,
back is horrible.
Back is horrible, and you look at his workout regimen and all of this, and I still think that these guys are either juicing or they're fine-tuning themselves to such a point the body's tearing itself apart.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's without a doubt. Whatever the reasoning is. They carry no body fat. Everything's tight, taut. There's no give. They lift and lift and lift.
Think back to Reggie White, who was about as fearsome a defensive player as we've ever seen. Agreed? Up there,
yeah, who's the head slap guy?
Oh, Deacon Jones?
Yeah, same thing. Like, these guys
but look at their bodies. They weren't these...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. They weren't these ridiculously chiseled workout warrior freaks, and they had monstrous longevity. They were truly exceptional human beings who used their skills to the max, as opposed to being above average ability who worked their bodies to this computer model that would function great, but only for a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, we look at even the running backs back in the day. Had longer careers. It wasn't just defensive linemen and stuff. It was offensive or running backs.
Yeah.
Tony Dorsett was fucking around forever. Now they're done at 28. Doesn't make any sense. And they ran him more back then.
Oh, yeah, by a factor of 50%.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway.
The second game up. This one hurt us. We had teased the over. And if Detroit could have done anything, what killed us here, by the way, dropped fucking balls. I felt so bad for Matthew Stafford, who I've ripped in the past for accuracy issues. He was putting it in their hands, and it was bouncing to the ground.
See, I didn't watch it down to that game. I watched pretty much the whole Raider game. Didn't see it down to that game. was checking the score periodically, and
I can't envision how Detroit would have won that game, but it should not have been as lopsided as it was. Yes. I mean,
yes.
You just saw Stafford, who, finger and all, he had less zip on the ball. That certainly didn't help. Another quarterback injury that, didn't help entertainment value. But the number of drops, I think I counted 5 before I stopped. Now, maybe I was being a little heartless. Some of them may not have been drops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
in playoff games, you expect guys to make catches when the ball's near them. That's how you keep drives alive and put up points. So, what we said going into the game, with Detroit having no running game, you can't keep an offense or defense off balance when you're one-dimensional. It's, okay, we're going to make you throw us to beat us. Well, the opposite is true. It's true. They had to run the ball to soften something up, but they have nobody. I don't know, with the amount of shuffling at running back that went on this year in the NFL and guys getting cut that were 5 and 6 year veterans, that Detroit didn't end up with any of them.
Well, again, the more perplexing move, Christian Michael.
He looked pretty good for Green Bay.
And the threat of him, just those first carries, he didn't do fuck all after that, but that threat of him running is what broke that game open. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Detroit should have fared a little better, and all we needed was one more goddamn touchdown. But you were right, it was one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Do I buy hugely into Seattle?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah, that was at home. It was an injury-decimated team, by the way. I mean, everyone talks about Oakland. Detroit has suffered a goddamn flotilla of injuries themselves.
Yeah.
The fact they made the playoffs is fairly impressive, even though they limped in by the back door.
Well, I was thinking Washington would have given Seattle a better game.
Probably.
Like, it all just fell wrong for entertainment. This isn't a shot against Detroit, but
no, since
Washington had a more balanced offense through the whole year, and was a threat to put up 350 yards passing and 24 points.
Frankly, so was Detroit, though. They showed the graphic before and after the finger injury. Because, I mean, Detroit couldn't line up under center, which they used a lot for a modern-era team. He can't line up under center now because he can't take the snap. And they showed a graphic of Stafford's numbers before the injury and afterwards. And it was, I would say, 25 to 30% drops across the board.
Yeah, but that's where you, as a team, need to have a running game.
They tried. I mean, they've got talent there in Abdullah, Riddick, even this guy they trotted out. Why can't I remember his name?
Isn't it a Washington or something like that?
No, I think he was gone too. I'm talking about the best white running back in football.
No, that's a guy from fucking Green Bay. That Rzinski or Ripsnick.
Oh, no, Ripkowski. No. Bennett said it about the Detroit running back. But in any case, they just didn't have the weapons. They didn't play terribly. They just, except for the receivers. I mean, and that's a story that haunts us through this. Through this week. Now, we did tease Seattle to -2, so we got that leg. The over, we failed on. The next game up had some interesting moments. All right. College rules have the targeting ejection. I don't know what... You watch a lot more college ball than I do. What do you think of that rule?
It has a place, but it's... Like you're talking about the Matt Moore hit.
Yes. In my opinion, that he should have been ejected.
See, I don't know. Because when you watch how he's throwing it and changes his body position, I don't know. It's so gray a lot of the time. And it was a brutal hit.
It was the crown of the helmet. That's where I think all the rest of it goes away.
Yeah, but Moore's falling, throwing it, falling
down. He has his head
down.
up to see him and drops his head to hit with the crown.
It was a brutal hit. That I texted you after the hit and said Moore missed one play.
Oh, yeah.
On the ground for
I
like
should
3
mention,
minutes.
by the way.
On the ground for 3 minutes.
In the playoffs, I am taping these games and then watching them because in Canada here, they take over the feed on the commercials. So on every commercial break, you get one terrible, terrible commercial. It's a different one every year. And it's absolutely impossible to not go crazy.
Oh, the one that got me this year was fucking TSN advertising the French Open or the Australian Open every commercial break. They'd run it twice in some of them. And I'm thinking, how can you not sell ad space during the NFL playoffs?
Well, I think I was on the CTV feed, and it's this terrible animated one for an optician.
See, I just remembered because it was the CTV feed, you're right. But it was advertising because CTV owns TSN. So they advertise, it was sometimes twice in a loop. The Australian Open coverage is starting on January 15th.
And even if the games had been good, that would have ruined my afternoon, just dealing with that. So I now tape the games and watch them on time delay so I can skip the commercials in halftime.
Close, because I couldn't call and talk to you about fucking Matt Moore hit. But
No, you sent me a text saying the NFL concussion protocols are a joke. And
how is a guy on the... Yeah, but how is a guy laying on the field for 3 minutes? Get up, talk to him. They talked to him while he was sitting up on the field for 30 seconds. Take him to the sideline, set him on the bench, talk to him, and he's standing beside the coach before they run the next play with his helmet on. After a hit like that, you should be out for a series or two. Because the Texans did that the week before. When the Titans were playing, and Savage got a concussion. They take him into the locker room, check him out. He comes back in for the last play or two of the half. They come back from halftime, and Osweiler's back in. Because, he has a concussion, he's out. Well, how did you let him back in the fucking game to begin with?
I think the concussion protocol now is how many fingers am I holding up? The old school concussion protocol.
There's no rhyme. Oh, then we have the independent neurologists on the sidelines. They're looking out. He missed one play and almost had his head taken off. And as far as the whole targeting thing, yes, they would have been thrown out in college.
And I think it might have been right, especially with... By the way, I'm so sick of the vaunted Steelers, the organization that does it right. They're a dirty fucking team, and that guy was coached by Joey Porter. A class act.
Well, I was just wondering if Pac-Man Jones was outside that bar.
Yeah, no kidding. We brought this up last year in the ugly finale of the Cincy-Pittsburgh game that Joey Porter had no right to be on there. He was a dirty player when he was a player. And come on, like he didn't coach him to aim for the head of the backup quarterback? Joey Porter's scum. Pittsburgh is scum.
I think sometimes, though, for these players, they know better, but it's just the old instincts take over.
I suppose, but I think those instincts would take over less if you get ejected. It's going to be interesting to see whether he's suspended or fined for that.
Oh, I'm sure he'll get fined for it. They won't suspend it. It's playoffs. It's the playoffs.
Well, yeah. Or,
Does Joey Porter getting suspended indefinitely fucking matter to the Steelers?
No.
Like, what the fuck are you teaching?
But again, this is an organization that does it the right way. Come on. Let's get rid of that fucking myth. That's mainly what I'm getting at. The sainted Steelers. And somehow, Miami ended up the loser in that exchange. They got the first down, and then because Ajayi protested it and got into it, which was no more than the usual scrum after, they tried to kill one of our players. Then they got 1st and 25, which killed their drive.
Yeah.
Priorities are completely proper in the NFL.
And he gave him a shove.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a hard shove.
I see that scrum after almost every play.
Yeah, the offensive and defensive linemen shove each other after every play. You just can't. When he did, he just shoved him in the shoulder and knocked him back half a step. It wasn't even. He didn't punch him in the head or. And that, see, going back to your point about the ejection, you can hit somebody with the crown of your helmet and not get thrown out. But if you punch a guy in his helmet, you get thrown out. Does it make any sense? I'm just going to break my hand if I punch you in the helmet.
Yeah.
You're not going to get hurt. Fuck. Stupid.
This game did not surprise us. We had the teased over, though it was irrelevant because we missed the over in the Seattle-Detroit game, but we also had Pittsburgh -4. So Seattle -2 and Pittsburgh -4 was our one cash of the week.
A whopping 1833. But out of a shit week. Okay, now did all the teams cover?
Yes, all home teams covered.
So even without the tees?
Yes.
So we had one just going against pick the spread and fucking ugh.
Yeah, but were you that comfortable with the spread?
No,
I mean, that hit changed the tenor of that game, too. Moore threw all right, but he looked a little lost out there.
Well, that's why I'm saying how is he back out on the field after one play? Oh, I wasn't unconscious. Are you kidding? You fucking rolled there for 3 minutes. Something was scrambled. But. Okay,
and the final game for the recap. I liked the Giants 10.5 and the over. I had it right. I actually listened to Walter Football's podcast, and then I avoided this on my own tickets because they were frantic about Green Bay. They were right. I was wrong. I totally fucking fall on my sword for this one.
No, I was all in on the Giants, too. And we were talking about receiver drops, and you were talking about if you have more than 2 seconds. The Giants were getting pressure. It just wasn't disciplined pressure. They were giving him room to get out. The first half, they were good at it. They were getting sacks.
Yeah, and
Green
they
Bay
were
had
closing
7
off
yards
his
of
escape
offense.
lanes.
Yes. Green Bay had 7 yards of offense in the first quarter.
Which was where I felt like a genius soon to have
me
my hope
too.
dashed.
Well, even when it was 7-6.
I was more
feeling
worried
good.
about the over at the end of the first half.
Yes. Well, the fucking Hail Mary turned that game.
I go with a different play. It was that kick return taken out, the kickoff after the Packers went for it on fourth, Giants score a touchdown. Packers walk it down the field, score the touchdown. On the ensuing kickoff, what on earth good did he think was going to happen by fielding that ball?
It's either going to roll out through the end zone or you're going to get the ball at the 40 if you just leave it.
Absolutely. That's the play that, in my mind, turned that game.
But that's where they always say, focus.
Well, here's the thing, and I just have a simple stat change. If a ball is going to go to the end zone or out of bounds, or if the ball is fielded in the end zone, do not start the return yards for the kick returner until they are past the 25 now, past the 20. And when they come to their contract negotiations, and instead of kick returns average 22.4, your average is 2.4, they'll start making better decisions.
No, that's just a brain fart.
No, but they all do it. Look at how many guys are bringing it out when there is no lane. They all want to be a hero, and they get to the 18-yard line. And that goes to their kickoff return stats as an 18-yard return. That should be a -2 or -7-yard return now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that.
I've always hated how they do that stat, and I think if those numbers get crunched, then they're going to look at the special teams coaches and go, why the fuck are you letting your kids bring this out of the end zone? And if these guys
isn't there don't they have they must have a depth in the end zone rule on most of these teams, because you see they catch it 5 yards deep in the end zone, they don't bring it out. 2 to 3, they usually will bring it out.
I see guys who want to be heroes. They think this is how I'm going to make the team. If those are on a sheet that every team is looking at when special teamers get moved around,
they don't look at what their averages are. An agent may try and throw that at you, but if you watch a guy return 20 kickoffs and he gets stopped at the 22 every time.
I know you're right, it's insignificant, but I'm sick of saying he averages 23 point whatever yards on a kickoff return. I'm thinking, if all he did was catch the ball, and he doesn't even have to catch it, they're getting 25 yards.
Yeah.
How often, unless you're the very elite, if it gets kicked into the end zone, don't bring it out unless you see a clean line in the wedge, or what passes for a wedge these days.
But most of the teams know that already, so they don't kick it into the end zone, because I think most teams do just kneel on it now.
I don't know. I'd like to see some numbers on that, because just watching football all year, I'm still seeing guys kick it into the end zone, and they're all bringing it back. And I'm screaming at my TV constantly every Sunday this season going, just kneel down. And then they get to the 18, and I'm going, oh, that's a -7.
Yeah.
Then they get to the 13, and I'm going, well, that's -12. Oh, good return. You got to the 28. What's the real value of those 3 yards? Nothing.
Yeah, everything that can go bad. Fumbles, penalties, everything else that goes with it.
That's just my opinion.
You're not wrong.
Kind of
you're
an
not
aside
wrong,
there.
but a lot of teams, I believe, are doing that, because there was a lot of kicks short of the end zone.
New England did it in week 1, but I mean, maybe it's skewed. I'd like to see someone work the numbers on this because
watching the playoffs here, when turnovers are huge, and these teams are all going to be kicking it below the, except for Kansas City maybe because of Tyreek Hill. Pittsburgh may kick it through the end zone every time, but all these teams are going to fucking kick it to about the 3. Because like you said, you're gaining 6 to 10 yards of field position.
Yeah, they're trying to force the return. I understand it. The rule turned around and bit itself because it was supposed to encourage what I'm talking about. And instead, it's encouraging people to beg them to try to bring it out.
Yes.
And what I don't understand is why, when they're begging you to bring it out, you bring it out. Just happens too much for my taste.
Well, that can't be a player decision because they wouldn't be back on the field. You never see a kick returner bounced from a game. They never get thrown on the bench for trying to run one out. That's good. That's coming from the coach. Okay, this time we're going to run it out. And I think it comes to a yardage, a depth in the end zone.
Yeah, this is something I'd really like to see a site like Football Outsiders break down. You know, I obviously don't have the tools, but perception-wise, it drives me bananas. But do you have anything to add on that game?
No. And the talk of them being in Miami cost them that game is bullshit.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I thought it was bullshit when they blamed Tony Romo going to fucking Mexico with Jessica Simpson on costing the Cowboys a game. I do agree with, I can't remember if it was Buck or Aikman, but they said it just leads to the why do you put yourself where it can be, somebody can use it in perception of
exactly
not caring. It's an off day.
The only argument is that there is no benefit. This can only turn out negatively for you.
And there is
why would you bother? You can wait a month.
Yeah, but there is something to be said with when the stories are coming out, you're partying until you don't go to bed on your off day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's
that's
very
not
little.
No, but it's not okay. It's not good when you miss a day's sleep and you're drunk off your ass. You fly straight from the game Sunday and you don't sleep. It's still a bad perception.
Here's the thing.
And it can't be good physically for you at that level. I don't care who. The days are gone when Mickey Mantle shows up to the ballpark and hits 3 home runs with a hangover. The media doesn't allow it. It became a fucking distraction. They're asking your quarterback about it all week, your teammates. Like, you got to have a fucking head to know that 10 years ago, Tony Romo went through the same fucking thing. And he didn't do anything near as egregious as this. He went with his fucking girlfriend. I don't think he was at the clubs till 5 a.m.
That was an off week, too.
Yes.
But, okay, Odell Beckham was right. He's going, I don't think this affected it, but the media's perception of it became a distraction.
But if you realize that now,
predict that the media will jump all over this, that's on you.
No, and how do you see it now? That you're posting pictures on Instagram and fucking
way,
video.
That picture was, I thought it was absurd.
Well, it just, all it plays to is ego and fucking everything else. We're ballers, we're this, we're that, we're cool, all the shit. But when you go after the fact, how do you not realize it before that when they talk, oh, he's growing up, he realized that he created a distraction? No. The grown-up thing to do would be not create the distraction and realize it beforehand that my actions will impact more than just me.
Yeah.
In this situation.
And all you have to do is wait a month. Like, in terms of...
They fucking lost. He could have been in Miami.
Well,
fucking
yeah, but I'm saying at worst a month. If you win the Super Bowl, the party in Miami is going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
And, by the way, anytime Bieber's showing up, the team stinks. So, where's Bieber this week? Happened to Pittsburgh, too, didn't it? A couple of years back. He went to their locker room and they immediately stunk one out.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it was Pittsburgh, but...
It was definitely the Steelers.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
That became a focal point for Buck and Aikman. Was silly.
No, but I thought they got through it pretty fast, by the way. And I liked Buck's statement. I thought he summarized it well. It was, whether this had any real effect is debatable. Whether it had a perceived effect, yes, and you should have known that.
Oh, but this got more play than fucking Deflategate last year.
You play for the fucking Giants. That New York media is not friendly. How do you expect you get a pass when you've been good, but not as great as you say you are? Like, my worry is he's turning into Owens.
Oh, yeah. He's just the latest incarnation of...
See, and this isn't even an attack on him, but...
No, but your perception
I loved
of
McAdoo just saying what they do on their day off is their own business. I love that notion that it's professional. But you should really think for the 4 months you're playing ball that every moment is owned by the team.
Well, don't give him the ammo.
Yeah.
He gave him he's posting the pictures and somebody with him is posting the videos. And they're all time-stamped. When you're posting a video from a bar at 4 a.m, not a good look. I don't care if it's an off day or not. It's just not a good look. He could be drunk in his house with 8 teammates. Care less. Why are you posting it? You gave them that picture. They didn't take it from a beach. It wasn't like the old grainy footage. Oh, there he is out on that thing. We're using a telephoto lens from the fucking beach. Here you go. Here's all you need. I'm giving it to you. Just to look cool. That's where the not grown up is.
Yeah, and I question how cool it looked. It looked like a bad...
I know.
The one on the boat, it looked like the bad cover of a rap album from 1984.
Yeah, but in this culture, now, with the Kardashians and everything, that's cool, dude.
I guess everything comes around. I'm such an old fucking man.
My wife was watching us. They did like a study of what people wanted out of life at different ages. And like the 13 to 20-year-olds now, what do you see your life? Oh, I want to be famous. That's what it is.
Oh, that was our generation too. I mean,
not to this degree.
There was nothing not to this degree, but
that's who he's playing to with that photo. That started to change
in the mid '80s, where it wasn't enough to do a job and do it well, and in fact, a valid job, like pursuant to our earlier conversation, a city planner. You know, who aspires to that? No, the best and brightest aspire to be famous. Goddamn, half the comedians we like went to Harvard.
Yeah. So that's who he's playing to. It's not to me and you.
Oh, I know.
It's to the million people on Instagram that follow him or whatever the fuck.
And I still
think don't these guys know that all these reporters follow them? That's just a no-brainer.
It's incredibly foolish. Do I think it really had an effect? No. I think a bigger effect was, had he played many games in that sort of cold.
Okay, here's where they really fucked up. They were still playing into it pre-game on the field. All the receivers went out with no shirts on.
Oh,
like they were on the fucking boat. So they didn't let it go. And when you lose, you're going to get fucking hammered with it.
Yeah, it's a cool move when you win, but you can't punch a hole in the wall when it turns on you.
No. Because once they lost, he knew what was coming. He knew, you know what's coming. So you do this for publicity and exposure, and branding is the fucking biggest buzzword fucking shitstorm.
Oh, it has been since 1990, and I think it's a disaster.
They all have it's my brand. I'm looking after my brand. It's like, okay. Yeah, they all brought up, the Cowboys had the stripper house in Dallas. Yeah, but they were winning.
And no one knew about the stripper house till later.
No, they weren't putting out pictures.
They kept it quiet. They kept the cocaine and the stripper house quiet.
So he brought it on himself. Did it affect his play? No.
I think the cold had a lot more to do with his play, but great time to turn in your absolute worst performance as a receiver.
Yeah. So
that's your new brand. You're a guy who fucks up under pressure. There's your brand, Odell.
Yeah, but all the shit,
that one?
All the shit the last 2 years with Josh Norman and fucking throwing his helmet at the kicking net and all the other bullshit.
Though I did think making up with the kicking net showed a certain sense of humor. I thought that was legitimately fun.
Yeah, but did you see what he said on ESPN after that? After a Monday night game? I think when they beat Dallas the second time? Sunday or Monday night game.
What about asking her to marry him?
No, but that, I've grown up and I've learned. You haven't learned fuck all. If you're going out and doing shit like that, you haven't grown up, you haven't learned. It's all just fucking PR speak, sound bites, so people can play it.
I saw a stat, too, that he dropped more catchable balls in that game than he dropped all season. In terms of catchable balls, which is a nebulous stat, but it's probably at least close,
Is the media overblowing it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you brought it on yourself.
And it's unfair, but you can't have it both ways.
No. You can't only be branding when you do well.
Yeah. As I said, your new brand is in the biggest game of your career, you absolutely sucked. You couldn't catch a ball to save your life. There's your new brand.
Okay, let's bet some games here.
It's that time?
I think so.
It's motherfucking game time! That's right. It's motherfucking game time. 4 games this week. I'm so hoping for entertainment, Boyd.
Oh, I think the first one will be.
Okay, the first game. Seattle, 5-point underdogs at Atlanta.
I like Atlanta here.
I don't.
For what reason?
I don't think they're 5 points better. And they have no home field. Let's not forget Atlanta was the team that piped in noise. There's still 10,000 unsold seats. I like Atlanta to win, but I am not at all comfortable with laying 5 points to a team that always keeps things tight.
But do they?
No, well, yeah, they got scorched by Tampa Bay. Atlanta has one pass rusher, which is one more than Detroit had, admittedly.
Are you sold on Thomas Rawls being the savior, that they've figured out the running game with that shitty offensive line?
Against
I don't think they can score with Atlanta.
Against Atlanta's defensive line, which is soft against the run, yeah, I do think Rawls is going to keep it. It's going to be time possession. And I don't think a single pass rusher can cut off the escape routes.
I don't think Seattle can score with Atlanta.
I don't think they can score with them, but 5 points? That's a big spread, dude.
Yeah. Well, after last week's debacle, I'd rather lay 5 than tease and over and fucking...
No, I would just rather take Seattle plus 5.
No. Seattle was an overrated team all year. Defense isn't the same. They don't have the pass rush they used to have.
They don't have much,
running game
much of a pass rush, but their rush defense has been solid.
I think Ryan torches them. I think it turns out like that Giants-Packers game, tight early, and Atlanta pulls away late.
Okay,
too many weapons.
They played once in Seattle, which obviously is better. Atlanta got screwed by that pass interference call, or non-pass interference call. But if we start breaking down games by terrible officiating, we'll have nothing left. Oh, just a minor aside. At the start of the Detroit-Seattle game, they misassessed a penalty against the wrong team, then moved it back to the original line of scrimmage, and then after another pause, finally placed the ball correctly. Mike Pereira later came on Fox with Buck and Aikman and said, "I'm not a fan of these all-star officiating crews." And I'm thinking, for God's sake, man, you were the head of officiating. Couldn't you have fixed it then when you did that job for 8 years?
No.
It's hilarious when they come out and say, "Oh, this is just a terrible system." Well, you were the guy who put in that system. That's a minor aside. So, I don't know. I'm not crazy about this game. I like Seattle plus 5.
They're horrible on the road. Horrible.
Okay, give me some numbers here. Can you pull them up?
I'm looking at them. Scored 3 points against the Rams. 27 against the Jets.
Yeah, okay.
6 against the Cardinals. 20 against the Saints. 31 against New England. That's their one good road win. New England. That was November 13th.
Okay.
Lost to Tampa, put up 5 points. Lost to Green Bay, put up 10. And 20, they beat San Francisco 25-23.
That's a very, very strong set of numbers. All right.
They're a horrible road team. We're looking at them through 2-3 years ago lens. They didn't show any explosive offense this year. One game the offense looked good against New England.
No, you made your case really well there.
Oh, I'm making it for the listeners, too. They've been a bad road team even with Wilson through all the years. Their splits are off. We used to bet against them on the road, even when they were in that 2-year run, because they were a totally different team on the road. Yeah, they were 7-1 at home. What's their road record? 1, 2, 3, 4. 3-3 or 4-4 on the road. Oh no. 3-4-1. They had a fucking tie in Arizona. So, and losing at New Orleans, that's the biggest one for me. Only putting up 20 points against that defense.
Well put, Boyd. No, you've swung me around. 5's a lot to lay on an Atlanta team which has to score. They still can't do anything on defense. But you're right. I mean, I just made the argument that Detroit could have kept that closer, though I could not see them winning that game.
No.
Yeah, no, okay. I'm on Atlanta. That's in the mix, as short as this mix will be. All right. Next up, this is stay away. Houston plus 15 at New England.
Okay, well, the line started at 14.5, moved to New England's minus 16, and now is settled into 15. If I'm picking this game just for shits and giggles, I'm taking New England. But 15's way too many to lay.
Against a good defense.
Because who'd New England play when they're beating them badly and then fumbled 2 kick returns in a row?
Philly.
Who was that?
That was 2 years ago.
No, that was this year.
Was it this year?
They fumbled back-to-back kickoffs.
It was Philly, I thought.
But that's the only way this game stays close. If you get something like that.
Osweiler's terrible. Like I said, he threw that one ball, and the announcers even said, oh, this is the kind of ball, can't even remember who they were, that he's been overthrowing out of bounds all year. And then in the second half, that's all he did. Every out was way past the stripes. It was into the benches. I got to take New England, but I want nothing to do with this.
No, I don't want. Tease it, jerk it, stroke it, fucking nothing.
Bugging me for the tease?
No.
We were 1 of 3.
No.
And I saw
I don't
nothing
want to do
last
anything
week.
with
We
this.
would have been fine, but laying 10 in the playoffs is hard.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't want anything to do with that. With Pittsburgh. No, the teasing the spreads, I don't have too much of a problem. You know my affinity for...
Over under? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable, because I've had a lot of success with them this year. But anytime I get into one together, with you and me, it's guaranteed to lose, just to torment you.
Yeah, I know. I was with you on doing it last week because all the lines sucked. But it still didn't make me like them. If we'd ever hit one of the over-unders we ever bet on,
yeah, you're right. It might change your opinion.
Yes. Because it just
and the
never
hilarious
seems to
thing
work.
is, you've seen my tickets.
I know you've
with
won.
Teased over-unders, I've done well. But
I've had my wife say, well, why don't you do what Marlon's doing? I said, well, you know how hard that is? We can't get 2, for fuck's sakes, let alone 9.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm never going to ask you to bet a total again. It's fair enough.
And I totally was on board with last week. Don't get me wrong. Because I saw nothing there that made me comfortable. But in the future, if we're going to tease, I would rather just tease the spread.
No, that's fair. I'm not going to ask you to tease totals or play totals.
Hey, we might be in the same
like it
next year, and I would go with it. Because honest to God, I didn't have a problem betting it last week because it all was logical, dude. It's just my luck with fucking over-unders. It's like I'm praying for a touchdown out of Seattle or out of Detroit when they've put up 2 field goals for 3.5 quarters. Because I texted you Saturday night,
yeah.
oh, Detroit could still backdoor it for us.
Well, and they could. It was theoretically there. All we needed was the stat Padford touchdown.
I know, and we've done it in point spreads before, which is essentially the same thing.
Yeah, a backdoor is a backdoor. Right?
But the randomness of over-unders, like you were sweating fucking, you wanted to bet that on ours, the under. And I said, those are weird games. Yeah.
Well, and you hate the unders even more. Like, you've described just your physical revulsion to betting an under.
Well, because it always goes over when we bet them.
Yeah, I guess it's not so much. But it's also, it's easier to cheer for an over. Right? Because the offense has the ball, you want them to score. It feels more natural. Whereas when you bet the under, you just want 3 and outs.
Well, with Oakland's
you want
defense,
each team to get to the 40-yard line and then punt it so the other team starts, at the 15.
Well, and didn't Houston start 2 drives inside the 20 because of turnovers? Like, that was what I was saying last week when we didn't bet the under. It's like, there's going to be shit like that with the rookie quarterback, and it's like, oh, it's just too hard on my heart. And then I'm praying for the over, and nobody scores. I'm like, well, Detroit scores 14-20. That's how they were winning all their fucking games.
Yep.
I thought they'd at least get that.
That's probably about the only game. Well, no, the Giants game, I don't think they scored a touchdown. But this is only the second game all year where they couldn't put it in the fucking end zone at all.
Yeah.
And I really don't think it was because Seattle's defense was that great.
Well, no, and that's...
You made a tremendous argument for Atlanta. Okay, next up, we have Pittsburgh plus 1.5 at KC.
Well, after your earlier rant about the scumbags, I like Pittsburgh here.
Do you?
I do. I don't know how Kansas City's stopping Bell and Brown, especially Bell.
Okay, here's my big thing.
Cold weather.
Look at Roethlisberger on the road.
Yeah, well, look at Alex Smith everywhere this year.
Roethlisberger on the road has been brutal, and he was not good in that game past 7 minutes into the
Give
first.
me Bell.
Le'Veon Bell, who is one of the most interesting and best running backs I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I don't know how he does it. He has no speed going at the line. He's basically standing still.
The closest thing I've ever seen, and I said this to Shelley watching it, was LT used to do a hesitation pause at the line and find the hole. But we're talking a factor of at least 5 times different.
Oh, he
did it,
nothing.
but it was not at all the same as this,
Well, no, I remember LT. I know what you're talking. LT would have his hand on a lineman's ass or back and kind of ride that and then hit the hole.
Yep.
Bell is basically standing still, just walking with the line as they're pushing him back, and then runs. It's no
that's
I think
the only comparison in my head, and it's not the same thing. And you know how much I worship LT.
Yeah. I like Pitt here. I don't know how Kansas City
has no home field advantage, really. Under Andy Reid, they're 13-18 against the spread.
Well, and
everyone talks about how hard it is to go to Arrowhead. It's not that hard.
And for whatever reason...
This is a strange perception. I was leaning towards Pittsburgh in this game, too. I wanted to hear your case first.
Well, the game I watched Kansas City play against Tennessee, Tyreek Hill touched the ball once on their second play from scrimmage. They never tried to get him the ball in the passing game. They ran him once. He scored a touchdown. As I said earlier, Pittsburgh's going to kick the ball through the end zone. Hill's not going to return anything unless it's a punt. But he's the only explosive weapon they have. Their running game doesn't scare me.
No.
And the way Pittsburgh's linebackers shut down Ajayi, their running backs don't scare me. They're going to get to Alex Smith. He's not like he was when he was in San Francisco and could run like that. I think Bell is the difference in this game.
Yeah. And I will even take Tyreek Hill out of it a little more. in the subsequent game, he got the same sort of jet sweep touchdown. They threw to him about 5 times. Man can't catch. He has hands of fucking concrete.
Their biggest weapon is Kelsey.
Yes.
But my guess is Shazier will be covering him for the most part. And should be able to stay with him. Kelsey's good, but he's not a Gronk.
I was leaning towards Pitt here, too. I'd like more than 1.5. I wouldn't even go money line then. Yeah, absolutely. We'll go money line if we're doing that, but I don't mind Pittsburgh here. My one big thing, and it's been inexplicable, but we've discussed it all year, is Roethlisberger on the road has been brutal. And by the way, he was brutal at home for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's fans they're blind to that. Like, yeah, he started fine, but that was more the receiver's work.
Well, I'll take and I've downplayed his 2 Super Bowls, or 1 for sure, but he's done it before. And I hate, you know how much I hate Pittsburgh.
You're not bothered by him in the walking boot where he aggravated the previous, like, does that seem bogus to you, or?
Yeah, if he tweaked it a little, what? He's out of it already. It's not, I don't think it's... You know, you were always the one saying he'll be back earlier than they say, and they'll talk about how tough he is. I don't put much stock in his injuries. It's like they've been talking about Aaron Rodgers' calf for 6 fucking weeks.
How dare you throw my own words back at me, you son of a bitch.
No, but Aaron Rodgers had a bad calf for fucking 6 weeks. Does it look like he's got a bad calf? And they keep bringing it up? Okay. If he was dragging that one fucking leg behind him like Tony Gabriel in the 76 Grey Cup, I'd fucking agree with you that he had a bad wheel. Well, wow. I haven't seen anything in 6 weeks that shows me his legs bother him.
That was a great goddamn Saskatchewan-only reference.
I know.
Fucking A. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and he still got behind the corners in the end zone on the fucking winning touchdown.
Yep.
He had one leg. I figured you'd get a kick out of that, buddy. Google it. 76 Grey Cup, Tony Gabriel. He was dragging his one leg like it was a sack of potatoes. And they still beat our corners in Saskatchewan. The only guy they threw to that whole fucking game. I was 7. And I knew where they were going with the ball.
I was 10, and so did I. And the entire room I was in, I was actually at a Grey Cup party at our neighbor's. And everyone was going, "You can't cover Tony fucking Gabriel."
Well, it didn't help that we had 87-yard end zones either.
Well, no. I mean, this is the CFL still. But yeah, an absolutely crucial moment in my sports history. Nice ref.
Okay, let's get on to the last game. We're already 20 minutes past when I said I wanted to be in bed.
Okay. The final game, Green Bay plus 4.5 at Dallas. And I like Green Bay. We're getting 4.5 with Aaron Rodgers. Looking hot. Dallas has 0 pass rush. Thin cornerbacks.
Who's that dude from Arizona? It's been sacking everything that moved the last month.
Oh, that was against a third-string tackle in Tampa Bay. You're talking about that game. Green Bay's O-line has generally not been bad.
Well, they haven't been good.
3.5 seconds.
No, Rodgers is creating like 5.
You're thinking Jordy Nelson is gone?
No, I'm thinking Ezekiel Elliott. against that fucking defense.
Well, that Ezekiel Elliott is the defense, but Green Bay's been good against the rush. What they can't defend is the pass.
Well, they can't. They won't. I can't get past. Green Bay's defense is fucking decimated. You got the best offensive line in football, the best running back in football this year, and they're playing at home. I know 4.5's a lot. Fuck.
I like the Pack here. I like the Pack quite a bit. What they did against the Giants was pretty solid. I think this is going to be a scoring game. And I'll go with experience and the better quarterback in this game. And Dak's good. But unless Ezekiel Elliott, who, by the way...
Who's covering... what's his fuck?
Dez?
No, Dez. Who's covering him? There's nobody left back there.
It'll be a whole shift, but Odell Beckham and Shepard couldn't do fuck against those corners.
Well, they were open. They just couldn't catch anything. 2 drops in the end zone, drops on 20, 30-yard pass.
Those would have been contested drops in the end zone. Like, they were catches, as we discussed, that should have been made.
Odell's wasn't contested in the end zone. His was a fucking flat drop. He was wide open. Tough catch, but you expect him to make it.
I don't know, like, we can skip it, but I'm certainly coming down on the side of the Pack. It's experience, it's Dallas.
No running game.
No defense on Dallas. Everyone says they're good. I don't buy it.
I know. I'm not basing this on their defense. I'm basing it on Green Bay's lack of defense.
And
that offensive line in Dallas.
We've got 2 teams that we think don't have much of a defense.
Lines win football games. Defensive and offensive lines win playoff games.
Julius Peppers still looks good to me when I watch him. I think he's one of the most underrated fucking defensive players I've seen. That guy's a goddamn freak. He's enough to absorb 2 guys anyway. They're going to be blitzing like crazy.
Oh, they're not going to stop Elliott. Nobody has. Nobody shut down that run game all year. At all. And if...
We're getting 4.5 points with Aaron Rodgers.
I just think Dallas is going to run the ball down their throat the whole fucking game. And keep Rodgers on the sidelines.
That's their best defense, is Ezekiel Elliott. I agree with that. That is their defense. But I don't know. I like 4.5 with it. We can skip the game. I'm fine with that. When we chose Atlanta to win, we figured Dallas would stumble. This is a Green Bay team feeling their oats against a Dallas team
I
with
like
zero experience.
I like our Atlanta bet more if Dallas is playing them.
I mean, we can go 15 each on Atlanta Pittsburgh. I'm fine with that, but I find it hard to see Dallas holding up under the spotlight. Rookie QB.
Yeah, but they've been saying that all year.
Yeah, and most of the time it's just been Ezekiel. I think they have to come they haven't been in many places where the other team can score. Like, bring up their schedule real quick.
Okay.
Scored at will on them on Thanksgiving. With Kirk Cousins.
27. I'm just looking who they played. Beat Green Bay 30-16 in Green Bay. I know Green Bay's playing better now, but they marched up and down the field on that defense, and it was healthier than it is now.
Fair enough point.
Put up 35 on Pittsburgh, gave up 30. 42 on Detroit. They had problems with Philly and the Giants. That was about it. Beat Philly in overtime and lost to them in Week 17 and lost to the Giants twice. That's their 3 losses. Giants twice and Philly on the last game of the season.
Well, okay. I can go with Dallas.
I don't know.
Let's take Atlanta, Pittsburgh on the money line, and Dallas.
At what?
We'll take Atlanta, Pittsburgh on the money line, and Dallas.
Well, no, but with this much...
Obviously, our underdog rule doesn't apply to the playoffs, so we don't sweat that.
Well, yeah, we got Pittsburgh. No, I'm not. We got Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Can Rodgers do it again? Because their offense looks like it did when they won the Super Bowl. That he's moving around, creating extra time, and doesn't matter whose defense if you don't.
And something we haven't brought up is Jordy Nelson's absence has to hurt. Everyone stepped up for a half. Like, I'm moving over to your side here, but 4.5 is a lot to lay to the best quarterback in football.
Fuck. I knew this one would be our bitch. Because you got to remember, too, that Prescott's not going to be a statue like fucking Eli for that defense when they blitz. They got to play fucking Prescott different than they played Eli. Like, he'll be able to create some plays with his legs. His rushing could make
the difference here a little bit, but
well, even just scrambling to make plays downfield. How often is Aaron
Rodgers going to run for a 9-yard first?
Fuck, I hate this line.
We could just go 15-15 Atlanta-Pittsburgh and skip the game.
Well, let's do that. I don't want to fucking force you into something because I'm not comfortable with Green Bay. You're not comfortable with Dallas. You're just conceding.
Yeah, a little bit, but you've been doing a lot of the heavy lifting lately, so I thought your opinions have been stronger and better than mine.
Well, yeah, no, this one's 50-50, this Green Bay-Dallas game.
What?
They're only... No, in my perception on betting, it's like... They're essentially saying Dallas is 1.5 points better. Minus home field. Which is... If the line was 2, I'd be way more comfortable on Dallas. Rodgers scares the fuck out of me. How long does the bubble go till it bursts?
Well, you could say the same about Dallas.
Yeah, but Dallas is healthy.
Like, okay, think about it this way. Like, well, no, that doesn't even work, too, because I'm thinking Dallas is a public team, but so is Green Bay. So we're probably getting a fairly true line here.
Yeah.
And the 4.5 line, as Simmons calls it, the Vegas zone.
Yeah, let's say fuck it.
Yeah. Let's go with our other two games.
Or do we tease that? Atlanta, Dallas.
Okay.
Or somehow throw it in with another bet. Like take the Falcons -5, take the Steelers +1.5.
Okay, or do we bet Atlanta and Pittsburgh, as we discussed? You made a great case for Atlanta. I was a little nervous, but your argument was really fucking sound.
Yeah, it's stronger to me than the Dallas argument, even though Dallas did. Green Bay's offense is playing at a totally different level than it did then, too. Which I don't know what the fuck happened.
What tease do you see here?
Well, I was thinking like making Atlanta +1 and Green Bay +10.5.
As our third bet. But still bet Atlanta on the regular basis. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm down with that.
Because I don't think Dallas is 10.5 points better. Okay. So we got Atlanta -5 and Green Bay +4.5. Teased down to Atlanta +1, Green Bay +10.5. $10 bet pays $18.33. Booked. Now we have Atlanta -5. $10 pays $19.09. And we're taking the Steelers on the money line. And you fucking got me thinking on that one, too, you prick. But I wouldn't let you. I wouldn't let you talk.
Fuck, you sound like I've just depressed you.
Well, you've got me thinking now. You know, we take the experience with Rodgers, but the experience with Roethlisberger this year on the road is fucking horrible. Bell's the difference maker. That was my argument.
It's Le'Veon Bell who.
In cold weather, no quarterback is great.
Good, and he's like nothing we've ever seen before. I gave my best comparison, but he is.
They have the most explosive players on the field. Pittsburgh has the most explosive players on the field.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill might as well have cinder blocks for hands.
Unless the punt returning is the only, because I can't see Pittsburgh letting him handle the ball on a kickoff.
Well, and I can't see Pittsburgh or any team anymore falling for that jet sweep or the reverse.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, so we have Pittsburgh on the money line +105, $10 pays $20.50. How am I arguing for the fucking Steelers? I hate them, but that's head over heart.
You know, they're not at home, so they won't get those 5 officials calls they can count on. Okay, we have Atlanta -5, $10 pays $19.09. We have Pittsburgh on the money line at KC, $10 pays $20.50. And we have a teaser to Atlanta +1 at home against Seattle. And we have Green Bay +10.5 at Dallas. $10 pays $18.33.
And the only way we get fucked is if Atlanta loses outright.
That's okay. You basically just predicted the future. So everyone, the Atlanta money line is right now -225. Looks like easy money to me.
No, Seattle. I said,
Oh, yeah, yeah, no,
you want to
yeah,
bet the
yeah,
opposite.
Seattle. I'm sorry. Plus 185. Nice bet for all you faders out there.
Yeah, we should hedge. Bet 5 on Seattle to win outright. All right. If you want to check out our podcast, you can listen to it on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device. On our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at Offensive Lines for any updates to our blog post or when a new podcast is available. Our personal Twitter accounts at OLinesMarlon or at OLinesBoyd. Facebook.com/Offensive Lines. And if you want to send us an email, it's offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon. And that was Offensive Lines Divisional Round Picks. Fuck Joey Porter. And the Steelers.
Degenerate fucking gambler.